Well, hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us today for this live webinar by Positive Intelligence, focusing on elevating your sports leadership. We're bringing you today game-changing mental fitness tools that you need as a sports leader. So I would like to start by walking you through to what was going to cover today. What's our journey today? We're going to set the stage and give you some context about the sports leadership challenges that we see leaders facing around the globe, and different trends and different organizational challenges. So let's start with that. And then we'll look how you as a leader can increase emotional intelligence, EQ, both yourself and your team through the use of positive intelligence. And we'll be referring to positive intelligence as PQ through this whole session. And then we can show you what type of mental fitness muscles you need to build to be mentally fit. And the most interesting part of the session will be second half, when we'll bring in live panelists to join us and to share their experiences, what happened when they brought positive intelligence to their teams. We'll give you some action steps and next things you can do after this webinar. And we really hope you can stay for Q&A session. So feel free to put your questions into Q&A box. The chat is disabled for the participants, but you can use Q&A box and give us your questions. We will be answering them at the end. There is a very good chance we're going to be running in overtime to answer them, but we'll record them and share the recording, and you can stay to watch those questions answered live as well. So now let me start by introducing your hosts today. I'll start with myself. My name is Julia Borgen, and I am Sports and Entertainment Market Director at Positive Intelligence. I'm also a certified professional coactive coach. I am Ukrainian-born, Russian-speaking person who now lives in Canada for the last 25 years. And so I'm very happy to be here with you today. And I turn it over to my co-host, Connie, to take it over with introductions.
Thank you so much, Julia. Hi all, thanks for attending. My name is Connie Wenting, and I'm based in the Netherlands. So we have a lot of people present from across the globe, and I'm happy to walk you through some challenges that sport leaders have. And I used to work in a corporate environment, but at the moment I am head of leadership development for the Sports Leadership Institute, working with a lot of leaders in sports, and a board member of the Invictus Games Foundation, where we used the power of sports in rehabilitation. My screen is, I'm losing my screen here, sorry. Flipping through to the next slides, I like to take you through some emerging trends in the global sports market, because what we see happening is that a lot is happening across the globe on globalization, commercialization, and increasing regulation, which is really impacting the sports ecosystem. On globalization issues, we see, for example, that broadcasting rights are sold internationally, but there's a huge financial impact in sports organizations. Players and coaches are sold across borders, so you see the different competitions changing as well. And you see internationalizations of professional leagues. So new leagues being developed, for example, in the Middle East. So we see competitions and players moving across the globe. Sports ecosystem is also used as athlete activism. So I think it is taking a very important role across the globe. So that's what you see happening in the sports ecosystem. Of course, the sports ecosystem is an ecosystem where there is a huge amount of money shifting from organization to organization. So the sports and entertainment industry is converging. Sports media is going social, and the cost of players is really rising. What we also see happening is that sophisticated measurement techniques are defining the return on investment. So the way that organizations are involved in the sports ecosystem is really changing. Of course, regulation is also something that is changing the level playing field. We like to prevent incompliancy, fraud. There's a really focus on integrity, diversity, inclusion. So there are really emerging trends in the global sports market. So how is this affecting the challenges in sports organizations? Because it's not just about athletes, it's not just about staff, but what you see is that it is in my opinion, a layered approach, because top down as well as bottom up, I think positive intelligence can really support sports organizations, because if we start, for example, in the bottom, for athletes and for players to be very successful, it is important that they are really mentally fit. But the coaching staff and people developing the players, it is important to get the best out of their athletes, even if it's individual players or team players. They need to use themselves as an instrument to get the best out of their athletes. So that layer is also very important, working in an elite athlete environment. But of course, you also have the organization. So for boards, executive teams, and operations, it's also important in their leadership. How are they mentally fit and how can they manage the organization as good as possible? So I think sports in itself, it's the ecosystem that is really changing. But the challenges in a sports organization, it's not just on the level playing field, but it is through the whole layer of the organization. So what is important in a sport organization, because we often use the metaphor of high performance leaders versus high performance elite athletes, because they all need to be physically and mentally fit. And we can use different pillars, for example, how high performance leader really can perform in their best, through physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, and a support system. So we always use sports as an example in the corporate environment, as well as in the opposite direction. Today, we really want to focus on the emotional and the mental bit, and that is where PQ program really comes in, because there's a lot of research that has been done around emotional intelligence. There are, say, 18 competencies that really define success of the emotional intelligence. And I think working with the Positive Intelligence platform and my experience using it with teams, with individuals, but also in corporate environment, in leadership development, positive intelligence can really grow 17 out of the 18 EQ competencies. So I think it is important that we show some examples to you how positive intelligence can really be helpful in the sports ecosystem as well.
Thank you so much, Connie. I want to give a very quick overview what actually is positive intelligence, because for those who are joining us today and never heard of it, the first thing to know that positive intelligence started with the book written by Shizad Shamin. It was New York Times bestseller in 2012. Based on a lot of amalgamation and synthesis from different science disciplines and psychology. And it really helped to address the root cause, why we sabotage ourselves. But because book gives you great insights, very deep insights and great stories, it doesn't fully help us integrate those insights. So that's where the program came in after that, and now fully available as the app-based coach facilitated program that helps you truly integrate, build those habits, build those mental muscles, and most importantly, address the root cause of the issues that we are having in not just in our performance, but in our well-being and in our relationships, because we're working with our brain, training our brain, and we use our brain for everything. So it really helps us in all areas. So it's not just for performance or well-being, it really works across the board. And another important message that I want to leave with you today is that your mind can be your best friend, but it also can be your worst enemy. And I'm sure you know that already. But why is that? It's because our brain is, first of all, very complex. But if we get to the radical simplifications that's offered here, and just look at that, there is two main parts to the brain. One is the fear-based brain that we call our survival brain. We call it saboteur brain because it's only good for short-term survival, but in the long term, it's really sabotaging us, staying in that fear. And then the right side of the brain, so the fear-based brain is mostly, if we are to put it under MRI, and we're in fear, it's mostly on the left side of the brain, limbic system and brainstem. But the right side of the brain that we're referring to as SAGE is the thriving part of the brain that gives us access to our creativity and innovation, ability to see big picture. So you can see how it can be a great friend and it can be a worst enemy. And the problem that we're having with that, how our brain works, is that SAGE part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, literally goes offline. It's not firing when we are stressed, fearful, and anxious. So they just like those two parts cannot be on fully at the same time. So that's what affects our performance. So the solution is that we can actually change our brain activation from that saboteur survival, fear, hijacked negative emotions brain to the SAGE brain, where we can be calm, we can think clearly, we can have positive emotions, and also achieve our fullest potential and achieve our peak performance without sabotaging our relationships and well-being. So all sounds good, but like, how do we do it? But how we do it is through building our mental fitness by, first of all, recognizing when we're in a saboteur mode, recognizing our top saboteurs and learning to intercept and stop that. And then building the self-command muscle that helps us to activate the SAGE part of the brain. And when we're in SAGE, using the 5 SAGE powers, like building that SAGE muscle. And let me just start by the first most important part, learning about your saboteurs. So what you need to know, part of radical simplification, part of the simplicity, there is not 50 ways that we sabotage ourselves. There is only 10. And one master saboteur is that we have in common is called the judge. And we know that judge by 3 modes: judging self, our inner critic, judging others, blame, resentment, and judging the circumstances, what's happening in the economy, in the marketplace, and traffic. But then judge is helped by 9 accomplice saboteurs. It's like think of them as the mental patterns that we developed. And how we develop them, the origin of them, is basically our greatest fear, our greatest strengths, taking too far by fear. So basically, saboteurs take our greatest strengths and take it too far, and it becomes a liability. So let me give you some examples. And out of 9, I pick 4 that are most common in leaders and especially in sports leaders. So the controller saboteur is the person who typically, when they're in SAGE, are very confident, decisive, but when they're in fear and hijacked, they become the tyrant or become the micromanager who just doesn't listen to anybody else and wants things done their way. A restless saboteur shows up in people who are naturally high energy, highly adaptable, very agile, can easily change their approach. But when they're in fear, the restless saboteur is at play, and they have big fear of missing out. They try to do too many things. They're spread too thin and just go in all directions, and like constant busyness that's exhausting to them and others. The stickless saboteur shows up in people who are naturally have very high standards. They're very, order-oriented and process-oriented. However, they take it too far. The stickler takes it too far when they're afraid, and they become perfectionists. They become the definition of perfectionism. And instead of focusing only on 20% that needs to be perfect, they focus on 100% that needs to be perfect. So again, very detrimental and exhausting to them and others. And last but not least, because that's a very common one, both in sports and in leadership in general, the hyperachiever saboteur. And many things, like, there is nothing wrong with it, right? Like, it's good to hyperachieve, it's good to achieve. But a hyperachiever basically results in workaholic tendencies and on all self-worth being put on achievement. So people with hyperachiever saboteur end up having actually lower resilience and takes longer to recover from losses and setbacks. And that's why it's important to know who they are and what the patterns that you yourself have and affect you and affect your team. So to do that, after this webinar, you can go to our website, positiveintelligence.com, and there is 2 free assessments, saboteur assessment and PQ score assessment. So once you take those, it will give you a lot of insight into your own mental self-sabotaging patterns, and also to the percentage of the time that your brain serves you versus sabotages. And now we want to learn about SAGE part. So enough about saboteurs, and I will hand it over back to Connie. You're on mute. You're on mute.
Sorry. Thanks, Julia. So it seemed like you were mirroring my top 4 accomplished saboteurs. So absolutely so recognizable that leaders in sports and leaders in general have these top saboteurs on top of their assessment scores. So, luckily, there's also a part about the SAGE in the program. And just sharing my personal story, every outcome or circumstance can be turned into a gift and opportunity. And this seems pretty big, but I think I'm sort of a living example, because I was, if I go back to in my personal story, I was diagnosed with lung cancer when I was 19. And I was lucky that I was performing sports at quite a serious level. But I had some good staff and people around me who really helped me building a rehabilitation program. So I really know what the power of sports is in rehabilitation. So the SAGE perspective that every outcome or circumstance can be turned into a gift and opportunity. It might take some time, but 35 years later, because I know what it's like, to use the power of sports in rehabilitation, because that's close to my heart and part of my DNA, I'm able to share this experience, and I'm working in an environment where we are using the power of sports for physically and mentally injured veterans to make a step in their healing. So I think the SAGE perspective is something really close to my heart, because I'm living it in on a daily basis. So the SAGE perspective is the tools that you get through the PQ program as well, and developing programs using positive intelligence as tools within a longer term program. I have really seen how the SAGE perspective is influencing teams, the development of teams. So there's a small example and a great example that we like to share with you. Unfortunately, Hanan cannot be in the panel because of the time zones, but we would love to play a short video and an interview that we did with Hanan, where she really shared the profound impact that positive intelligence program was part of a program that I'm running for a year and a half in Sharjah with Sharjah Women's Sports in the United Arab Emirates.
Okay, so just give me a second. I'll bring up the video, and she can join us this way. It's pre-recorded. Okay, you can see the screen now? Yeah.
I'm representing Sharjah Women's Sports Organization, a dedicated entity for the advancements of women's sports in Sharjah, one of the 7 emirates of the United Arab Emirates. I'm speaking here today because I was one of the lucky beneficiaries of an amazing platform, which is the PQ platform, which was introduced to us, obviously, by Connie. And basically what we wanted is we had selected 20 of our current and potential leaders, all female leaders from the staff or the team members of Sharjah Women's Sports. And we wanted to invest in a holistic training program.
I want to know, Hanan, about your personal experience. How did the program affect you as a person? What became different as a result of going through Positive Intelligence?
It was an amazing tool, to be honest, because it gave you a numerical or a measurable kind of KPI or a performance indicator of your progress, which is something that we always find lacking whenever we're working on personal skills. So first of all, the whole saboteurs concept was brilliant because it was somewhat profiling people, but it was profiling them in a very relatable way and in a way where you can pretty much see something that you haven't had the opportunity to see before through other psychometric or assessment tests. So we all got to understand exactly who are our main saboteurs, and we started having this healthy communication of exchanging, what we found out and finding out who belongs with who in which group. And I was basically the leader of the stickler group, so it was very eye-opening. And at the same time, I found new patterns of thinking that was highlighted within this platform, and the tools that you require to break free from them. And I carry the PQ reps practice to this day when needed. So it has been one of the most amazing discoveries of this platform.
What are the changes that you've seen in others, and especially in the team dynamic, how people communicate and interact and relate to each other after going through the program?
I think it helps strengthen the bonds between them because a lot of them were relatively new. So we used this platform pretty much to gel the team together in a very important time where we've had a lot of new projects and initiatives to work on. And it was very important to us that everybody speaks a common language. And I think that's what the PQ platform provided. And it helped the team explore their own blind spots that they weren't aware of. So they worked better once that they have that common language spoken, and the processes moved much smoother. And a lot of conflicts at work kind of settled down finally because people were not attacking the person anymore. They were recognizing the saboteur in that person and directing their feedback from an emotional point of view rather than attacking the person themselves.
Yeah, so the question is now, I want to ask Connie, what was your experience seeing people's transformation and growth?
What I really like about the Positive Intelligence platform is that I'm using it as part of a more extended program, and especially because I'm based in a different region and working with international clients, like working with Sharjah Women's Sports in Sharjah. It was ideal to sort of build a longer program where you do face-to-face coaching. So we had face-to-face workshops. Then we ran the 6-week program with 20 women, like Hanan just said. Then we did a very extensive period of time. It's 10 days in the Netherlands, where we shared a lot of knowledge around the ecosystem, also finance in sports, ethics in sports, marketing in sports. And part of it was also personal development. So we did face-to-face workshops again, and then I used the 4 pillar methods, the leadership methods that Positive Intelligence is providing within the platform as well, which was very strong. And then we extended it with the Grow module with 10 out of 20. So we've been working on in-depth themes like stress management and energy optimization, healthy conflict. And what I really like about Positive Intelligence is also that mentioning the saboteur energy, it becomes, I think it brings in humor into the language of the team as well. So I think it's easier to address difficult conversations, especially mentioning saboteur and recognizing saboteur. So I've seen profound changes of the women in the team. The team was growing very fast. So for some people, the PQ program was almost sort of an onboarding program. So I think it really supported them coming into a new organization.
And my last question to Hanan, what words of wisdom and encouragement would you like to share with other leaders who are considering bringing positive intelligence to their organization?
What sets the PQ platform aside from the rest is that there are these tests and assessments that you can constantly take, and it pretty much generates a scoring for you that you can benchmark against your previous scores and witness in real time what are the changes and shifts that you and your team members are going through. So good luck to everyone who's on a great mission. We aim to build on that wealth of knowledge that we have gained and to continue to come together and try to understand one another. And we're very grateful for this opportunity. And for you, Connie, it's been an absolute pleasure working with you for this entire period of time. And I'm pretty sure that you'll be following the journey of a lot of these wonderful ladies and that they'll be forever grateful for the time that they've had with you. So thanks again.
Oh, that was good. That was good. And it's also we had took 12 minutes to record it, but we were able to shorten it to 6. So to fit it into this format so we can keep moving. So
Thanks for playing. And I like to hand over, for you to the Sage Powers to really show the rest of the audience as well how profound the changes have been within this team as well, and how well the Positive Intelligence program fitted into the whole setting.
yes, we focus sometimes so much on saboteurs as we're getting to know them. But what's really important is getting to know those Sage Powers. And so let me just, the best way I have to quickly introduce them to you is, unlike saboteurs who are all driven by fear and based on fear, Sage operates entirely on love. So the 5 powers that you see here, empathy, exploration, innovation, ability to navigate, make decisions, and activate and act, are all connected to the love for different things. Like empathy is love for yourself and others. Explore is a love for discovery and curiosity. Like you can be judging and being curious at the same time. Innovate is the love for possibilities. Navigate is the love for the meaning and purpose and kind of seeing that bigger picture and connecting to it. Activate is love for making things happen. And the way we teach our brain, train our brain to shift from saboteur fear-based mode to the Sage love-based mode is by building the self-command muscle, by doing PQ rep exercises. So it's like lifting weights, but with your neural pathways, with your brain. And what are PQ reps? PQ reps are it's exercises that you use your physical senses. So for example, you're paying undivided mental attention to a physical sensation. It could be touch, it could be hearing, it could be smelling, tasting, and seeing. So instead of describing it to you, let's experience this. It's an experiential program and experiential training as well. So if I just ask you to bring 2 fingertips together and rub them one against each other with such a tension that you can feel the ridges of your fingertips. You can also choose to bring both hands together and rub the whole palm together and feel the temperature of your skin. So this is your tactile rub. And doing that just for 10 to 30 seconds already starts shifting your brain activation. If we put your brain under an MRI machine and see that the saboteur part of the brain is quieting and the Sage part of the brain is lighting up. You see, I'm starting speaking slower because when I'm a bit anxious, I speak very fast. And as soon as I start doing PQ reps, like I feel my body coming down, the adrenaline is flushing down, and the way I speak even changes. And obviously you can do the same, focusing on the object in front of you and paying full attention to the color and the shape, focusing on the sound that's far or close. Could be the sound of your breath, like you breathing, and which is also, very important to just remember to breathe, because sometimes we're excited, but excitement is the fear is excitement without breath. So that's why it's the most common mindfulness exercise as well, to focusing and meditation. We're focusing on our breath. So those are the different exercises that you can use to start building your self-command muscle. You don't have to do it for 20 minutes in the morning. You can do it for 30 seconds, 2 minutes throughout the day to keep your sage brain activated. And since your sage brain already a little bit activated as we started doing some PQ practices, if you were following me, I want to also stay with you here and walk you into the demonstration of the Sage Navigate power. And that's the power that we need to connect to with our meaning and purpose and make the best decisions about our behavior and about our actions. The typical game we play in the program and the visualization we do called flash forward exercise, where we go into the future and consult our older, wiser self. And for today, we're not going to go to the end of your life, but we will pick 3 years from now. And I will go off the video myself. And I invite you just to deepen your sense of relaxation and being calm in your sage brain. I invite you to put one of your hands on your heart and feel the beating of your heart. And then put another hand over your navel, on top of your stomach. And notice the rising and falling of your stomach as you breathe. If you're not driving right now, I should have mentioned it earlier, you can, and you feel comfortable, I invite you to close your eyes for this visualization. And as you close your eyes, I invite you to imagine that you're walking up to the time machine that looks like a spaceship. And you step inside that spaceship and buckle up, and it takes you through time and space from today to 3 years from now, landing on a planet that represents your professional life 3 years in the future. As you step outside, you're greeted by your future self. You're slightly older and a lot wiser. Notice how they look like, what they're wearing. Notice expression on their face, their eyes. Notice what's around them. As you look around, you also notice a large screen that plays a collage of images that represent your ideal outcomes that you achieve in your professional life 3 years from now. And they're also the outcomes that bring you the most fulfillment. They could be financial, improved relationships, completed project, your personal professional development, rewards or recognitions. What do you see? What are the outcomes 3 years from now that brought you the most fulfillment? As you're looking at the screen, your future self reminds you what truly important here is. And what's not important, but you tend to worry about, is. And now it's time to return from the future back to the present moment. So you thank and hug your future self, return to the spaceship, and it takes you back to the planet of today. Take a soft, deep breath in and out to complete the journey. And when you're ready, open your eyes and feel free to write down anything that came up for you during this visualization. And to kind of wrap it up nicely, our very speedy introduction to the positive intelligence operating system, I want to walk you through the steps that why it's so simple and so great. It works so great. What you need to do is first, when you're feeling negative emotions, to stop, you're in the saboteur mode. You'll do PQ reps to quiet the saboteur and activate the sage. Assume sage perspective, that every problem can be converted into a gift and opportunity. And then you can generate the gift using one of the 5 sage powers. So just remember that you can shift your balance of your brain from that part of the brain that sabotages you to the part of the brain that serves you, just in a short 6 to 8 weeks, to improve your life, performance, well-being, and relationships. So the next, what we're gonna do, we can actually go into the panelist part of our session today. And I want to introduce our first panelist that will be joining us, Carrie Winters and Pam Ryers. Carrie is the Director of Athletics at Muskingum University, and Pam is a leadership coach and PQ coach that worked with Carrie and her team. By bringing this 3-hour virtual saboteur workshop to their 53 coaches, and then enrolling some of them in an app-supported PQ program, she guided them through the 7 weeks of foundational program, and that they also have access to the team modules, and their family and friends have access to the program as part of this engagement, and for the whole year, so they can cover a lot of different topics, including conflict management, SAGE mindset, for DEI and parenting, and many, many more. So as a result, we have the reports that 86% of participants had significant improvement in resilience, stress management, and emotional intelligence. But you don't have to hear it all from me. You can hear it from Carrie and Pam. Thank you for joining us today. And I want to start asking Carrie a question about the impact that Positive Intelligence Program had on you personally, Carrie, as a leader. What's changed for you?
First and foremost, thanks for including me in this. This has been terrific. I would say, as I reflected over this program and what it provided me, I could go into the positive impact and the enhancements that it has provided my life professionally and personally. We have 25 athletic programs here in our department. I'm a mom of 4 children under the age of 7. There's a lot of things going on, and that's part of who I am, right? And so I have become a much more patient leader. I have become a doer. I feel like I cross items off of my to-do list in a manner that I didn't prior to this program, because I'm able to not let all of the thoughts of a to-do list overwhelm my brain. And I truly have seen the relationships in our athletic department strengthen with me professionally as the director here, in regards to leaning in with more empathy. I know that you hit on that early, but I have watched our coaches really appreciate that, loving myself, loving others in our department. And I am getting that back, which has been a huge help in really overcoming some stigmas and some complexity in athletics. I think a lot of times sport is defined by win and loss, and so when you're trying to improve programs and improve day-to-day business, there are a lot of saboteurs that can come in. So this program, I could speak for hours, and just very grateful for the opportunity, because it has made me better for sure.
Yeah. What's about the changes that you've seen in others and people on your team?
Yeah, I think that how I just ended my first question in my answer, our coaches are not letting wins and losses define them. And they have become more community-based. They have opened their doors, opened their minds, their hearts in learning from one another. They have been able to learn from other professionals, maybe in our conference, that they normally wouldn't pick up a phone and call, and so they have really been able to take the PQ reps, the gym work, right, quote unquote, into their personal lives, professional lives. And, maybe one of my personal things, Julia, is the impact that it's had on our student athletes. Our coaches have used the PQ program to better themselves, which has truly bettered the programs that those coaches are a part of. And now we have 18 to 22-year-olds asking to dive deeper into these programs, asking for cell phones to do gym work on, so it's really been enhancing in our department. It's made me proud, to kind of end on a warm and fuzzy. It's just been really impactful.
Yeah, it came at the right time. I know it was like a very stressful time when you brought it in. And Pam, and thank you for introducing it to Carey and Moskingham University. How was it for you to experience seeing their transformation and their journey as a coach, leading them through the program?
Yeah, what an incredible journey. Thank you for including me in this as well. When I started working with Carey, it was over a year ago. I think it was about 18 months ago, and we really started working one-on-one. One of the things that we noticed was that, as Carey mentioned, let's face it, it's in athletics, it's the win and loss column. That's what you look at, right? So what we decided to do is to broaden that out. We first did work with Carey individually, and it was so profound that she was like, I need to bring this to all of my coaches. So every summer she has a retreat for her coaches. And I usually do this in person, but we did it virtually. There was 53 of them in their conference area, and I was live, big screen. We actually walked them through it. And what the purpose of all of that is to create a winning mindset beyond the win-loss column. So what does a winning mindset look like? And we dug into that and we defined it. And we had them doing exercises, and we had them doing saboteur posters, where now they're looking at going, okay, it's not us personally, is what's at play here. It was phenomenal. And what we did from there was we created a pod of 10. We said the first 10 that really raised their hand and said, I want more of this. It was probably the best so far group that I've had, because they were so eager and willing to work on that. It was amazing, the shifts that I saw in a very short period of time.
Mhm.
I remember you sending pictures that they were writing, do your PQs on the whiteboard on their doors.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And very much like what Connie had talked about too, is they start making it a new language. It's a common language that they are saying, did you do your sets and reps yet? Which is not just physical sets and reps that they do, it's their mental sets and reps, which is awesome. And I love that analogy. One instance in particular that stands out to me is we had a volleyball coach that was really helping her team. And what happened, we were barely 2 weeks into the 8-week program when one of her students was having literally an anxiety attack, where she had been on medication and everything. And our coach quickly said, hey, take my phone, do this rep, and immediately brought her heart rate down, and had such a profound impact that her mom was even like, what just happened? She has been on anxiety medication for such a long time. And something as simple and as profound as this made such an impact. And I've actually had other clients of mine who had been on anxiety medication for years go off of it after they experience this, because now they don't need the medication to impact their mind, and their mind is much more powerful than they give it credit for. So it's overall been, I can't say enough about it. It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, thank you both, Pam and Carey, joining us today and sharing your experience. And I will continue working together, and I really have a vision to see it in hands of more sports coaches, and especially getting it to the student athletes who are under so much pressure, both academically and athletically too.
Yeah,
So
the ripple effect is phenomenal. It really is. Thank you.
okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, so I want to introduce you to our next panelists that are joining us today. We're going to travel from the United States to Ireland, and help me welcome Lisa Strutt and Sinead Sharkley Stinson, who founded the company. They're both leadership coaches, and they founded the company called Reboots that's focused on leadership coaching in sports. And they're working with grassroots volunteers all the way up to top level athletes. And their mission is to get more women in decision-making position in sports. They currently work with sports like football, meaning soccer, tennis and hockey. And their groundbreaking work in football specifically has been recognized by the Union of European Football Associations and the President of Ireland. Lisa and Sinead use positive intelligence as a foundation for all their programs, because it supports the mindset and development work, helping players and leaders to get to the peak performance and managing and peak performance on the field, and managing all the different biases in the boardroom. So welcome, ladies. Thank you for joining us. And the first thing I want to start is asking you why PQ, like why you selected PQ as a foundational tool for your leadership development programs, rather than something else. Who is ready to start?
I will. Thank you, Yulia. It's lovely to be here. It's been so interesting hearing the other uses and the support for PQ. And so simply, I mean, Lisa and I, probably between us, have about 40 years coaching experience. And we have come from a more business background. So we've been coaching leaders in corporates in the business sector for many, many years. And between us have many qualifications and certifications, and have trained in practically everything imaginable. We're lifelong learners. We do love a bit of that. But as we've got older and more experience, we've become a bit more selective about where we'll spend our time and what training we'll do. And PQ actually came up through a friend, a coach that we both know, during lockdown. And I don't know if people can remember. I probably don't want to remember that time, but as well as lockdown, I personally was going through realizing I was perimenopausal. So I was dealing with a lot of very challenging symptoms that I had never experienced before in my life, like rage, like brain fog, anxiety has been mentioned a lot. And these are things that had never happened to me before. And so Lisa and I did the initial program together, and it had such a profound impact on our lives. Lisa was also going through a very challenging time. Her husband was extremely ill at the time with pancreatic cancer. And I think without PQ, I'm not sure either of us would have made it through that time. That's how big an impact it had for us. And quickly together, we recognize this is such a powerful set of tools that we can absolutely use with our clients. And we started using them in business, but we were starting to work in sport and tried it out on our football program, and had fantastic results, which I know Lisa will talk about a bit more. But the things that made it stand out for us was it works. First of all, it really helped us manage such challenging situations, but also how accessible it was, the research base. So going into a sporting organization, just like a business, people want to know, where's this coming from, what's it based on, and having that research and evidence base is so important. And then being able to talk from personal experience of what a difference it's made is really why we picked it above everything else, and we thread it through absolutely everything we do. It's our number one go-to for any of the programs we run.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's a glowing testimonial, and made it easy when it works. You know, you and it's easy, accessible to everybody. And Lisa, and I'll give you a chance to address my next question about what the impact you see on others. You know, when you taking people through the program, and I know you have a variety of different people you're working with in sports, like what changes you see in them.
Thanks, Julia. Yeah, it's the changes we see are phenomenal, because the program that we run, which is called the Female Football Leaders Program, it takes each year between 25 and 30 women who are involved in grassroots football across the whole province of Northern Ireland. And we use PQ, we use the assessment, we use the language of PQ, we use the PQ reps, and the wording around mental fitness is all really accessible to people. And I think that's one of the beauties of PQ. In only one session, you can deliver so much of the background and the theory and the impact of PQ that gives people that sense of, I can do something with this makes sense to me. They immediately have the language of the saboteurs. And so that's the first thing we notice, giving people the language to talk about what's going on inside their minds is really, really helpful. And we find that the women we work with immediately relate to that. They immediately start talking about it. They immediately notice it in each other. There's the judge. They start to talk with that language. And what we find then is when they come back the next week after we've done that session with them and they've done their assessment, they come back with real life examples of shifts that they have made. And one of the most significant things that we discover is the impact of their voices in the committee spaces, on the field, at the side of the field, in the locker room. And that's one of the main outcomes of our program, that women learn to use their voice more, that they recognize that they have a voice and that it can have impact and influence. So that's one of the main things that we notice with that program. And then with our other program, which is more with elite athletes and elite high performing administrators within the governing body around football, it's really about them learning about the gift and opportunity, because managing an organization and being involved in a national governing body or within the coaching stream of elite sports is challenging. There's lots of disappointments, like Connie said earlier. And we find that going through the PQ program with our elite female football leaders program has given them the tools and the language to go out there and deliver high performance in whatever arena they're working in. And so we brought it into tennis with 17 to 24-year-olds, and we brought it into field hockey as well. And the impact across the board is what I just mentioned. Having that language, having that focus, and having that ability to have an impact.
Yeah. Lots of, like, you focused a lot on building that self-awareness. It's also having an agency. It's almost like I had this image of, like, as soon as saboteur voices are silenced, your true voice can be really heard, and you have the agency, to use it. Yeah. Thank you. Is there anything else like you want to share, like for people who are listening here today and they're considering positive intelligence, like any other like advice and insights that you might have?
I would say give it a go, and you'll see pretty quickly the impact that it can have. It's impacted me personally. Everyone here on the call has talked about the personal impact, so do it for yourself first and see what impact it has on you, and then take it to your clients and test it, and you will see that it has a really positive impact. The clue's in the title: positive intelligence.
It's like full intelligence, using your full intelligence, you know. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank
I
you.
think I was gonna add, Yuli, if that's okay. Yeah, try it for yourself. And the thing is, because it's such an intelligent suite of tools, certain things resonate. We're all different, so some things resonate more with some people than other things do. But having the core principles and having that shared language, when you bring a team, say you're working with a sports team, it's a really strong way to connect that team and to change the style and tone of the conversation. So, you know, you're suddenly being more introspective, you're talking about real and personal experiences. And I've found when you work with people at different levels, and there can be fears about that, about sharing, that actually it gets rid of the levels. It brings everybody to a level playing field, to use the sports analogy, and really connects them then, so you can start working at a very different level with them. And I think that's one of the most exciting and powerful things about it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We'll keep in touch and want to hear more as you progress and expand to more sports and more organizations. Thank you.
Thank you, Yuli.
And so I just want to remind everybody that if you have any questions, to put them in the Q&A. So we can answer them live if there is any questions. And just to remind you that not to forget to take the free assessments we have on our website, for both to find out about your saboteurs. There is a saboteur tab, and PQ score, which you can find on the science section of positiveintelligence.com. And now you can, you know, like if you're wondering like how to get in touch with us or what you should do next, first of all, if you came to this webinar as a referral from another positive intelligence coach, I recommend you first of all contact them. So if you're already working with the coach, get in touch with them, say that you want to do the program or you want to know more about the program. And if you don't have a coach, actually, if you are a coach yourself and you're working in sports and we're not in touch yet, you're not part of the mastermind group that I'm running in Positive Intelligence, please connect with me and we'll get you involved in a community of leadership and sports coaches that are working together. And here, like on the screen, you can, you know, scan what you see on the screen. There will be some links to our calendars in the chat as well. Connect with me, connect with Connie, because she has like just an amazing amount of experience in sports leadership globally. So you can get in touch with her and find us very easily on Facebook, not on Facebook. Well, you can try there, but on LinkedIn. Find us on LinkedIn and connect with us and follow us on LinkedIn. So and that concludes our presentation for today. And we can see if we got any questions that pop up. And I don't see anything right now. And so, but any panelists that are still here with us, you know, come on video. We can just have a joint wrap up, and no questions. Grace is our Zoom producer, helping us, you know, behind the scenes, say no questions, but then means we can end perfectly on time at the top of the hour. Otherwise, we'll be going to overtime on this. And so just want to thank everybody today, and thank you, Connie, for first of all making it possible and bringing your wisdom and experience and everybody else bringing their hearts, you know, here, and actually like being brave and courageous, you know, finding out your saboteurs and doing the program and bringing it to others. So thank you all, and we'll continue maybe a little bit part 2, but stay in touch, and thank you so much, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
But